stripes. It was a twin thing. The same item in a different color phenomenon. My mom had dressed us that way too, until we were about 9 and realized we could say no. Maybe we should have figured that out earlier, but Nash and I tried to keep the peace with our mom. That's what you did when your mom was a few cards short of a full deck. Nash didn't like it when I said that about her, though. So we usually just described her as quirky and left it at that. Although it feels a lot like describing King Kong as a moody monkey, but whatever. The day had been a normal one. Well, as normal as the 7th grade could get. A kid had gotten his head stuck in his locker on a dare, and another girl went to the office with a pretty epic bloody nose. But normal other than that. We'd had no idea our life was about to change when we'd walked out of the big double doors for the pickup line that afternoon. I remember sweating as I stood on the curb next to Nash in the hooded sweatshirt that had seemed like a good idea this morning when it was cold, but was now a small, personal oven in Indiana's 90-degree heat. My mom had told me to put a t-shirt under it in case I got hot, and I'd argued with her and insisted on doing it my way. So now, I was pretending that I wasn't dying of heat stroke while fully intending to act like I wasn't regretting my decision when she pulled in. If she ever pulled in. "Why is she late?" I asked Nash as I rolled my shoulders under the weight of my backpack. It had barely zipped over the math workbook, social studies book, and the brick our new science teacher had passed off as a textbook. If homework on the first day was any indicator of what the 7th grade was going to be like, I was going to see if I could get sent back to 6th. Weirdly enough, Nash's backpack looked even more stuffed than mine, which was odd, considering we had most of the same classes. "Relax, Rhett," Nash said with a dismissive wave of his hand. He looked incredibly relaxed in his green polo shirt and cargo shorts. He pulled out a baseball hat and shoved it onto his head so that his dark hair curled up around the back in the humidity. "I'm very relaxed," I snapped. "No," Nash said. "You're actually twitchier than normal, and that's really saying something. Why does your backpack look like you're smuggling home a St. Bernard inside it?" I asked, purposefully changing the subject. "Because I am," Nash said, his face completely deadpan. "His name is Herman, and he's got gas." I snorted despite myself. Nash glanced around the deserted parking lot of our new middle school and then leaned in conspiratorially. "Actually," he said, "the media specialist, Mrs. Elmhurst, let me borrow something." I leaned in and whispered back, matching his secret agent tone exactly. "Was it a book?" Nash laughed and then shook his head. He slipped his backpack off, letting it land on the pavement with a weird jangling noise. "Guess again," he said. "A St. Bernard that swallowed someone's keys," I said. With one more glance around the parking lot, Nash unzipped his bag, and I saw a bulky, rectangular box with thick black lettering down the side. I crouched down to inspect the game and raised my eyebrows at my twin, who smirked back. "I know," he said. "I'm a rebel." You do realize that if literally anyone heard you say that about a board game, we'd be labeled the dorkiest of dorks for the rest of our middle school careers, right? I said. "You realize that you're already the president of that particular club, right?" he retorted, and I gave him a sharp jab with my elbow. I decided not to comment on the club he'd been president of, even though I could think of a couple of doozies. The truth was that I'd missed Nash today, sarcasm and all. This was the 2nd year that Nash and I had been separated from most of our classes, and I hadn't liked it one bit. Just like our previous school, this one believed in splitting up siblings. So while we had most of the same classes, we attended them at different times of the day. I hated it. Maybe it was a twin thing.